All right, so here we are, the next stage of what's going on. I've got the seats installed. I don't think I went over that last time, but they're mounted in there. Or maybe I did go over it last time. It gets hard to remember. But yeah, the seats are installed. There's no sliders on them. So when you bolt them and you get them in place, they are in place. They do not move unless you put sliders on them yourself. I'm sure there's a way to do that. I just didn't do that for this. This is, the passenger seat is probably gonna stay. The driver's seat is probably gonna get changed out to some sort of better seat. Or I'll change both seats, we'll see. So one of the challenges, we'll say, when you put the 4.6 liter in is that the air intake does not line up in a reasonable place. You know, like if you put the stock air intake in, it ends up coming out above the front suspension because the filter and everything is so big on the stock one that you could see it. It would hit. So I had to come up with a solution. What am I going to do? So the manual tells you, doesn't give you a lot of details, but it tells you to modify the stock intake. I kind of wanted to do that only because I know the stock intake works. The problem is I didn't see a very good way to modify it to ensure that it will stay working. Meaning like, you know, it's a molded piece of rubber and it has these flanges on it. And if you cut it, then you don't have those flanges anymore. So I kind of was like, I'd rather go and maybe go in a metal route. And then that way I can like cut and weld and I know I'm gonna get a good seal out of it. I don't wanna cut up the rubber. So I thought about, okay, well I can make one. There's an off-road supply place near where I'm at where you can get all kinds of stuff to make one. Because like off-road stuff, they're always making like super one-off custom things. So you can go there and you can pick, but that's going to be costly in the end because of the time, and the parts are not inexpensive. Probably great if you are building an off-road vehicle and enough to spend the time. I went online. American Muscle has it's called an SR cold air intake. They sell it to all 50 states. And it's metal. It's just an aluminum tube, has, and this is part of it here. So I've installed the main intake tube. It comes with two couplers, silicone couplers. One of them is a step up. The other one is just a straight silicone coupler. Comes with the clamps. $115, $130 with shipping and tax and all that. You're probably not going to be able to buy the components to do it for that. So probably a good idea if you're looking for a solution. Now, so I have everything bolted in place. Now, what they give you is a tube that bolts up to the mass airflow sensor, but that would be for the stock Mustang and would go into the fender. Obviously, I'm not doing that, so I have it set up. Oh, and this is the filter itself. So it's just a basic cone K&N style. It's not an actual K&N filter. So I'm going to, and you can see, what I'm going to do is modify and I'll show you if you want to see it. I'm going to modify the tube that they give you with the flange on it. So this is that tube. You can see here's the flange that bolts up to the mass airflow sensor. I'm gonna cut it probably 2 inches because that's how it will fit here in my chop saw. Probably better to use a bandsaw, but I don't have a bandsaw anymore, so I'm using the chop saw. I'm just gonna take it real slow. It's aluminum, so I don't want it to get too hot. So I'm just gonna go slow. It should be just fine. But I'm gonna essentially cut that straight piece off, and then I'm just going to bolt that to the mass airflow sensor, and then clamp the filter onto that and see how that works. That should give me the clearance I need in that front right suspension for it to go up and down. So that will be the test I have to do, and this is in theory. You know, like I said, haven't tested it out. I'm gonna test it. You know, but when I drop the car back down, the compression, is it gonna be enough space? Will it have room to travel and go up and down and not hit that filter? That will be the test. If it does, I'll have to come up with something different. But that's where I'm at for now. And yeah, so hopefully I'm hoping it will be the solution, because I've spent a lot of time like researching. There isn't really, you know, a lot of people use the Cobra engine, and the Cobra engine has a different, for some reason, like you can get these straight shot intake manifolds for that. So you can't get that for these. I also thought about, this is the other possibility, of putting an extension on this end and getting this tube around here. I think my cables would work. For the mass airflow sensor, I think that would work. But I thought about that as well. I thought about maybe getting this to be out here, which might end up having to happen if this doesn't work. The other thing I like about this is I'll be able to grab cold air from, you know, it's not getting the hot air coming off the radiator here. It's not in that airflow kind of track there. It's going outside. So I kind of like that as well. So I'm trying to keep the filter. My ideal spot, I think, would be if I could have the filter like right here, because nothing is in the area. Exhaust heat should be being pushed this way, and the air filter would be great right here. But yeah, there might have to be some weird solution. Or U maybe, if I had a U that kind of came out and put the max airflow sensor right here, that's another possibility. We'll have to see. But I'm trying to go simple, easy to start with, make them more complicated as they go along. But that's it for now. So here we go, the solution, or for now, bolted, cut the flange piece off down, about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.75 inches, 2 inches left. It's aluminum, so it did cut pretty easily with the chop saw. Put the bolts in, because the kit comes with the bolts, and there's a little rubber gasket that goes in there. Clamp this on, and then it comes with a silicone tube to put the one of the breather tubes on, and then I had to cut another little piece to put the I think air idle control valve tube on. But everything else, you know, for now. Now, the only thing I can see maybe being if the wheel is turned, you know, if you're looking here, the wheel is turned all the way to the right, compression, going in a driveway or something, it might hit, maybe. So what my other plan and option is I can come up. One of the things I was trying before was another set of holes. So I could take this bracket and I can bolt it up here. And that'll essentially, you know, it'll get to the top of this tube there. So that's my next step, if I need to, is to raise this up. But I will put it on the ground first, check that. I'll check at fold to the right, drive it a little bit, but that's good. To me, good enough right now for the driving of the car. So the next step, next steps that I need to do in order to drive it. Let me see. I got to bolt this wiring harness down. I think I'm just going to use like an L piece of angle to hold that in place. Kind of clean this up a little bit. Little stuff here and there, but for the most part. Oh, I got to figure out the fan. That's the other thing. I was doing a little bit of research on the fan. The fan is another tricky thing. There's a wire. You can wire it up manually or to a thermostat. So if I get that figured out, I'll let you know how I did that. But that's it for now. All right. So here is the next part of the... So after the... in the manual, after you put the steering wheel, the dash on, all that, they have to put the roll bars in. And this is all before you're supposed to road check it. So I have the 2 roll bars, the driver and the passenger side there. I put the driver's side on, it fit perfect. It lined up, it fit flush here at the joint. They want you to clamp it in place, and then you drill for the 4 bolts. There's 2 on the bottom of the main hoop, one up here on the down bar, and then one down on the bottom part of it. Perfect. It lines up great. Now, this side does not. When I actually go to put it on, it does not. So for some reason does not sit down all the way there, which doesn't allow, you can see like the gap is closer here than here. And it kind of binds up, and I can kind of force it, and that's about as close as I can get it. And they say they want it to be flush, and it should be flush. So I need to figure out why this is doing that. I don't know exactly, but if I compare both sides, it sits on the driver's side, it sits flush here. It doesn't sit flush all the way down on this inner tube here, where on this side it sits all the way down on the inner tube and not all the way down on the outer tube. So I don't know if that's keeping it from sitting down here and then that's making this square up. I don't know, but that's going to be something to have to figure out. Or I just take the roll bar hoop off. The problem with taking it off is I already have the cutouts in the body, so I'd have to patch those, which I'm sure the guy who does the body work can patch those up for me. But so that might be a choice I have to make, that I get rid of one of the hoops, because that's where I'm at now. I can't get the one side to sit down. I don't know if it's like a manufacturing thing, like when they welded it together something was off, or the hoop itself is off. I might have to call Factory 5 and ask what the deal is, because I mean, I don't know. If I measure them, it's narrow, or yeah, wider at the bottom than at the top, so it like flares out or something. I don't know, but that's it for now. That's where I'm going to stop at this point. Getting there, getting close to putting it on the road and seeing how it goes. So next time. All right, so we're getting there. Got the passenger side roll hoop is starting to close up the gap a little bit. What I did was I went in and I got a Harbor Freight. You can get these like drum sanding bits to put in a drill, or a drill press or something like that. So I went and got one of those. It comes with an 80 and a 120 grit. It's probably a little fine. I'm gonna see if I can find maybe like a 60 grit or a 40 grit. And I just been like taking material out of the down tube on both ends, and then also these tubes on the actual hoop itself. And then I've just been kind of going straight in and out, and then also at an angle around. So it's getting it to fit. It definitely fits much better than it did, but it takes a little, this side, and I think what threw me off was that the other side needed no fitting and this side needed all the fitting. So that kind of threw me off, but yeah, still got this bolted in. I kind of bouncing back and forth. I hooked up the gauges. I've got them actually working. So there's a gauge feed wire that you got to hook up. I was wondering why it wasn't working, and then all of a sudden realized I didn't have any power to the gauges. So you do have to hook up the gauge feed power wires. And then I'm figuring out what I'm going to do with my fan. I'm going to wire in a switch. I think it'll be like this switch here. And what I'm going to do is I already tested it with a test lead, just jumping the power wire from the fan relay over to the cooling, the blue wire, and it fired the fan up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook a switch in line to that, so I can just flip my fan on when I feel I need it. I'm going to, and then it'll be ready to go. That's pretty much it there. And then I hooked the shifter up, and I actually went through the gears, all the gears, and tried the brakes, obviously the rear brakes because the front wheels aren't turning, but everything was working as it should. But yeah, it's that's that. Still chasing a few leaks when it comes to brake system. I don't know. I try to tighten the brake fittings, some of the banjo bolts and some of the fittings as much as I can, and it doesn't seem to want to do it. So I don't know. Who knows? But that's it. But yeah, other than that, haven't put a wheel on yet to test my intake. I'll do that at some point. But there it is for now. Yeah. I think everything else is pretty much done. The next video should be me driving it. I think so. So we'll see. We'll see if I get to that within the next week or so.